Hello, I'm Pastor Don Wolf, pastor at Cornerstone Worship Center in Vestaburg, Michigan. And today we are broadcasting from Leavenworth, Kansas. We're here for an ABEA convention, and today we have the wife of the pastor at the church where we are having the celebration.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. And she is here today under, well, we had to get the police to bring her in. Let's be honest about it. Anyway, we're going to find out a little bit about her. She's, I hate to admit this, especially to the whole world, but I really do like her, but I give her a lot of pain.
Boy, I must be really loved.
Let's not push it.
Okay.
Well, how long have you and your hubby been married?
33 years.
Now, I heard this last night.
Oh boy.
Well, at the table where you were, and I didn't know this about you. How many children did your parents have?
My parents actually had 3. My brother died at birth, so it was just my sister and I.
How many? Okay, so you had 3.
Mm-hmm.
How many do you have?
My husband and I have 9 that we have raised together.
Yeah. Well, that's not the end of the story, though.
Yeah, it's not.
You want to expand on that a little bit? I mean, a little bit.
So Keith and I, when we got together, I had 4 kids, he had 4 kids. We had been married probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years, and the Lord has spoken to me. We had moved here to Leavenworth, and one of the ladies in our church, she was struggling raising her sister. Her sister and her lost their mother, and Esther was 11 when they lost her mom. And the Lord spoke to me and said, you need to raise her yourself. And I was really like, okay, Lord. So on the way home that day, and after I prayed a few minutes, I said, okay, I think I have the courage to ask my husband this. And so on the way home, we were actually crossing the Missouri Bridge, and I said, I need you to pray about something. And he says, okay. I said, I need you to pray about us taking Esther in and raising her. And he looks to me and he says, Gladys, don't you think 8 is enough? Needless to say, the next morning he says, okay, if we're going to do this, let's get her done. And so we brought Esther in and her sister was thrilled because she knew that she was at a place in her own life that she really couldn't raise her. And this kind of gave Esther a place to live and grow and become Esther. And Esther has been a blessing to us. Out of all of my daughters, we have 6, and everybody always points her out and says she's our biological one, but she's not. She's our adopted one. So she kind of fits in the family real well.
However, that's not the end of the story either.
No,
this is the one that really threw me.
So when I started the ministry for teenage unwed mothers, during the time that I was doing that, there was a young lady that had a baby born premature. The baby had been in the Children's Mercy for like 10 months, and she asked me if I could come and get them and so take them to her aunt's house, because that's where they were to go home to. And I said, okay. So I go down, and I knew right away something wasn't right, because the social worker came in and the nurse, and it took a little while to, for them to move and, get the baby ready and etc. So anyway, on the way home, she gets a phone call, says, you can't go to your aunt's house. We're not going to approve that. And so she starts crying and she says, I don't know what I'm going to do. The baby had a feeding tube And so we had to have really, a good place to go. And I could tell already that they were really concerned about that. So we get to Leavenworth, and I tell her, you go on into the lady's office, and I'm gonna make a phone call. So I call Keith, and I said, she has no place to go, Keith. I said,
Click.
I said, what do you think? Do you think she can come and stay with us, until things get better? And he goes, what does that mean? I said, well, what it means is I need this lady to come to your house and you show her the home, make sure that, it's okay, which I knew it would be. And I said, so that we can, let her come and live with us. And so he said, okay. And, either he really trusts me or he must have heard God really fast. But the lady came and she said, we approve. And so we went ahead and she moved in with us. And that was the beginning of our foster care. And we had 20 kids go through our home that we fostered. And that was an experience too.
Without names, is there any of that 20 that you wish maybe that you hadn't brought them into the house?
No.
Okay.
There was only one child that I really just, it broke my heart, because at a very young age, they were taken from their family, and had been in the foster care for over 10 years, and she broken, and she had only been with us for a few days, and it really hurt my heart because there was no way it wasn't going to click with our family. And so I had to say, you got to come and get her. But she was the only one, but it just hurt. We really cared about her. We wanted to help her, but it was just a situation where our family couldn't handle it as a whole,
Right.
because it affected our kids, their kids. So.
My understanding is that you're also, well, this I know part of it, but you now have a ranch.
Yes.
Which you love.
I very much love, very much God.
However, it's all fun and pleasure, right?
Yes.
No work.
Oh, a little bit. That's why I'm dressed the way I am. I want to say this. The ranch, the whole ranch idea really became more to us when we did foster care.
Oh, really?
Yes. That was because we really talked to our person that always kind of took care of us, I would say. She would say, well, if you had more room, and I would say, only if I had a ranch. And so, anyway, we realized one thing about all these kids, and that was they never really had a good life, and the foster care, the people in foster care really tried hard, but there's so much to fostering. There's lots to fostering. Some people only do respite, which is like a weekend thing, or if a family goes out of town for a vacation, that child doesn't always get to go on that vacation with that family. And the list goes on and on about so these kids get tossed a lot. We had, for an example, we had a little guy that came for a respite, and we had him a weekend. My husband fell in love with this little guy. He was just an angel, honestly he was. You could tell he had some issues, but nothing that was, overbearing or anything silly or crazy. But he was just one of those kids you just wanted to just love him for the rest of his life. And we had first responders that weekend. And so the fire trucks came and stuff like that. And he had a blast going and getting on those fire trucks. And then my husband took him out to a place where they were, out in the country, where the boys all went and caught frogs, because that's what he wanted to do. And he said he had a blast with them, just watching him play and have fun in the country. And so he came, when they came home, he said, Gladys, I wish we could keep him. I said, well, I said, his other foster parents may not want to give him up. But that's one of the things, fostering, you kind of fall in love with kids. It's not that every kid isn't lovable, but because they are. But there's the levels of, trying to help them, find a better life, find normal. It's really tough to watch and see and hear and feel what they feel.
It's amazing how God takes one thing and ties it into something else, and then first all of a sudden you find yourself in sometimes in more than you can handle.
Right. The last foster child that we had her for over 2 years, and the one thing that we found out, she had never done anything. She had never been to McDonald's. She had never crossed the river, on the bridge. We crossed the bridge. She says, what are we doing? What are we doing? The bridge, and she would just kind of freaked out on us. And we're like, it's okay. You're going to be fine. I've never been across the bridge. And so it just, everything that we did with her, she had never done before. And when we went to McDonald's the first time, she said, I've never been to McDonald's before. And I looked at her and I'm like, are you serious? She said, she called me Grandma. She said, Grandma, I'm serious. And so she asked me to order for her because she didn't know what to really get. And so, and she's on Facebook, so hi, if you see this. But she just, and I think that drove Keith and I more to thinking about the ranch, because she had never been around animals, the whole works, everything.
I know it's only 3 or 4 years ago that you got the horses.
It'll be 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, in July, which is around the corner.
And that's what started it. Well, I guess I need to back up for a minute. Shift gears. You got 8 acres.
Yes, the 8 acres sits in, it's kind of a weird spot, but this lady that we've known for a long time said she released it out to us. It was nothing but brush and grass, taller, probably if it really stood up, it would probably be taller than me, but every kind of weed and every kind of sticker bush, every kind of tree was everywhere on this piece of property, and this sits between 2 deep hollers, and I'm talking 30-foot deep hollers. And so I looked at my husband when I tried to walk across it. I'm like, I don't know, what do you think? And he said, we can do anything with God. And I said, you're right. With God, nothing is impossible. I remember that, Lord. And so when we started on the property of cleaning it, we started with the front gate. He said, we have to do the front gate thing. He said, that's our beginning. I said, okay, we'll do it. So him and I did this. Whew, that's a test of a marriage. We've always been good at working together, but that was a little bit of a test, because it was like, I don't have that many muscles. But anyway, we did it. And I remember, we got way past that. I remember one day I was struggling and I was hot, and I said, Lord, I don't know if I can do this, because there was so much to do, so much cleaning. And the Lord spoke to me and said, little by little, that wasn't the first time the Lord spoke little by little to me. And I just said, okay, God. So I told the whole crew, I said, we're done for the day, let's go home. But every day the Lord would just remind me, little by little. And Dawn, that was a few years ago. And now it's amazing what God has done. I have, that we've always, asked for donations and stuff. And I told Keith, I said, surely God wouldn't give us this for us to have to always be asking for donations. We're not a church. And, but the Lord started showing me this year of all the resources we have on the property. The blackberries. Oh my goodness, wait till you guys come out. We have so many blackberries growing on those blackberry bushes that it's going to be something. So I said, okay. So I've kind of got these little areas of blackberries that I'm preparing. And then I'm starting what I call blackberry hill. So I've transplanted some of the blackberries that were taken out of a pasture area over onto the hill. And so they're all starting to grow. Hopefully they'll be bigger and better and ready next year. And then the chickens.
I love fried chicken.
I know, so does my husband, but we're not gonna cook these. Eggs only, eggs only. So I picked out some different kinds of chickens. We can always just have chickens, but I wanted chickens that really produce a lot of eggs, and so there are several different kinds that produce more than others. So we have Americanas, we have Wyandottes, silver Wyandottes, and a couple of reds, and so they're all producers. Now my Americanas lay kind of like Easter eggs. They lay blue and green eggs, so that'll be fun for the kids. I thought they would like that. And then I have a rooster that I call Mr. Black. He's cool looking. He's black, but he, in the sunlight.
How's he taste?
I don't know, I haven't tasted him. He turns purple and green in the sunlight. He's really beautiful. So anyway, don't get me started on the animals. So we have blackberries. So I saved this one tree that's up around my round pen that I thought was a walnut tree. And I thought, I'll probably have to cut it down because walnuts and horses don't match.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't do that. So it turns out that it's a pecan tree. And this year, I think I'll be able to really actually get some pecans off of it. Because the last couple of years, they've been kind of, growing, but not growing. And so, yeah. So he's been showing me different things that is on the property that we can make money with.
Would you have access to sell it? I mean, they
I already have people asking. A lady who helped us today, and she bought some stuff for the ranch. She was the first one. Let me know when they're ready because I want some blackberries. So I'm like, this is good. So
I remember when we were teenagers, we moved to a place called Arcata, California, right up almost to the Oregon border, right on the ocean. And they had blackberries. They grew wild. The bushes were everywhere. And this is a warning. And we would go out there and pick them. And I mean, my mother would make jam and pies and everything. Nearly every day we go. But we found out that rattlesnakes love to lay in the bushes.
well, let me tell you something. Not on my ranch.
How
Because I don't like snakes.
Well, neither do I. So we'd go there and take a branch. We'd have to beat on those branches, and you beat on them, there they go. Then you go pick them.
Well, my biggest concern is no rattlesnakes. I promise you, no.
Copperheads.
No. I won't even allow them on the property. Actually, turkeys. Turkeys. We have galore turkeys.
Wild.
Yes. When we went to meet our grandson one night, and we drove up, and we were waiting on him, right? So we drove up a little bit more, and all of a sudden we seen this whole flock. I can't even tell you how many turkeys. They were, they weren't very old, but there was turkeys everywhere. So between the blackberries and the grasshoppers, they like our property.
Grasshoppers? Don't dip them in chocolate.
Ooh. Now you're gonna give me another one.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Believe me, I'm sorry.
We'll just sell them to you.
The right reason I bring it up, when I was young, I was raised in California. They used to have stands, and all they sold was chocolate grasshoppers.
I hear.
It didn't last long, but did for a while. They were everywhere.
I've never had one.
Well, me neither, because my dad would stop and get them.
That's probably a good thing, you know that, right?
Okay, you've told me about what's the purpose for it?
The ranch. I knew you probably would ask me that question. And so I'm going to give you a short version.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait a minute, how many minutes we got? Okay.
Oh, we're good. I can do this. So the purpose is a word that the Lord gave me several years ago. I'm going to say probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And the word is whole. We went on vacation, and I was really waiting for the Lord to give me a word. And because I kind of know what my purpose is, but I didn't. I'm one of those that I got to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to know why. What is it that you want me to do with this? And he said, to be whole. And so I was going through a lot of things at the time because of my hormones and etc. And the whole foster care and everything, my hormones were kind of out of whack. But he told me whole. He said that people need to be whole. And so at first I was like, okay, Lord, but now today I understand it because I know what he's done in me. The wholeness has been a long time really coming, and for some people that is. And for some people, whole comes easy, being made whole. I know that Christ does that, but Christ has actually done that for me through my horses. I can't explain it to someone. You kind of have to just experience it. But when we started the ranch, God really spoke to me and said, this is it. This is not only for you, but it is exactly the word I spoke to you. And so he has showed me how I will use the horses and the ranch to make people whole. Women stress and have emotions probably a little more than guys.
No kidding.
But I have already experienced with several women when they come out, the peace that comes over them and etc. When I got my first horse, I knew that I always wanted a horse all of my life. I wanted one. And I was a little bit afraid because, like everybody, that horse is so big, and this and that. So I was a little bit afraid of a horse. But when I met my first horse, it was like God was right there. And there was no fear. I knew instantly, this is what God wants. And I knew it because of what it did for me that day. And I said, okay, Lord, I'm ready to learn more. And I have learned so much through just taking care of the 3 horses that we have and what they can do for people. I watch the little kids and the big kids and adults. They come out and it's just like there's an off switch that happens in them and a different switch comes on. And there's a lot of peace and joy. And that is what second chance at a better life. And that, I know that I know. I do get emotional about the rich.
Well, anytime you find something that gives you that inner peace, if I put it that way,
Mm-hmm.
It hits a special spot.
When you know God,
You're right.
God is just in it all the way.
That's right.
You know, I have watched addicts come out and just change. I have a young man that I have worked with some this past year who was autistic, who never talked, that just totally changed. You know, and we talked to the horse. That was pretty awesome. I have a young person now that I'm working with. Their mother asked me to work with them, and so I'm working with them on their issues of life, and I think it's going to help a lot. I can already see it. So I like those kind of challenges. I listen to the Lord and let Him tell me how to do it, and then I just kind of begin to show them and give them understanding of what ranch life is like. It kind of takes them away from their atmosphere
Right.
and puts them into a place that is so different. And that's what we all need sometimes. And the ranch isn't just for kids, and it's not just for people who with addictions or issues. I want our bigger piece of property that the Lord is going to provide for us to be for everyone. I actually want it to be for pastors and ministers to come and just get away from the city life, get away from ministry life, and just come and rest and enjoy the country life.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Yeah, it is.
Whenever God's in God, through God's we can do all things.
That's right. I want to do a day camp. I have all kinds of ideas that I think will help people.
Could you have a day camp with just what you got?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I can.
Good.
And I'm hoping that next year I can really get on that.
I know you got a dog now. You call it
Yes.
guard dog. I've seen
Herd
it.
dog. It's a herd dog.
It's a herd dog.
A
Herd.
herd dog.
Okay.
The reason why they call it a herd dog is that they take on the whole herd, and they actually guard them and round them up, everything. When I first I kind of studied on herds first, and then about the dogs, and then I experienced it at a ranch that I worked at, and I watched her dogs bring the horses in from everywhere. And I thought, wow, one day. And so my grandson raises Great Pyrenees, and he gave us a pup just a few weeks ago, and I'm excited because I already see him working. He's 14 weeks old, and he works those goats.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. We run out of time.
Boy, I'm a talker.
No, that's what I wanted. See, you talk, I just sit here and look pretty.
You look really good.
But we got about a minute left, and so I offer you to say whatever you want to the people who are watching.
It's something that my husband is always saying, is something that I believe with all of my heart, and that is, in order for someone to come to Christ, you got to get to know the person. The person, is not a number. It's not another person. Each person is an individual. And I believe that with all my heart. And sometimes taking a person out of their circumstances or away from their elements that aren't always so good, and putting them into a safe place, a peaceful place, is important. And you may not have a second chance ranch, but if you can find a park, take a walk where there's trees and birds and fresh air, that is great for people. ministry isn't about sitting down and beating the Bible with someone. It's about a hug and a good word of encouragement, a support. And that is the most important thing, and that's the biggest reason why Keith and I do everything that we do. I have lots of hats, but the ranch is just extra special that I believe God has given me so that I can share more.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.